Well, hello and welcome to all of our viewers around the world. I'm Fiona Lang Sharp, IBCLC Director of Communications and MC here at Gold Learning. Well, I'm so excited today, sitting down with my friend and colleague, Tamentanefer. Camara, welcome to you. Tanefer, it's great to have you here today.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Well, of course, you are here today because we are going to be celebrating with you and everyone else around the world World Breastfeeding Week with a presentation titled Rooted and Resilient: Cultivating Professional Well-Being and Sustainable Care in Lactation. What an exciting topic for the time that we're in because a lot of people
Yes.
are just trying to figure out where they're at. What are they doing? How is this impacting? First of all, hopefully they're talking about themselves, Tanifer, because I know that's something that you and I have talked about quite a bit in regards to lactation, but it's not very often, we really dive into this topic and we talk about sustainability on sort of both sides of things. So, the rooted and resilient, I can't wait to hear all the things that you have to say about that. But first of all,
hmm
I want to talk about you. I want to hear all about the things that you're doing. I know that you're busy. It's midsummer for you and you're, hopefully having a little bit of downtime, but you've always got things on the move. But your work yourself, I've known you for years now and I've seen the incredible work that you've done. And I know
hmm
that there's many layers to that. There's lots and lots that you do. And I think that you always seem to have your hand in something or other, right? But tell
Yeah.
me, you smile when you say that, but tell me about your, really from the span of clinical work right through to community policies and things like that. What really, inspired you to talk more about this topic, rooted and resilient?
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because from the clinical work to the community work to the policy, it all is intertwined for me. It was never
Mm,
separate. Um, Coming into this field of lactation, it started off political for me. It started off in community for me, addressing a need that I saw in my community, and therefore addressing a need that I saw within myself.
mm,
And so it's always been intertwined. And because of these multiple layers and the demand, um, for the work that I do, for the complexity. So when we talk about community, we're talking about, the things that either hold the community together or that pull the community apart. And it gets really, really heavy. And
right.
so, in balancing, the work that I'm doing while, I was learning, getting education, while, starting a family, while trying to, take care of myself, being a caregiver, to my mother early in my career. All of those things made it very evident for me that in order to do this work, I needed to be able to carve out a space that was just for me. I needed to be able
Mm,
to cultivate and honor practices that allowed me to recharge, to rejuvenate. And I wasn't always good at it. In fact, I got so caught up in the community work, in the clinical work as well, that I kind of lost myself in the process.
mm,
And I was just going from work to home, from work to home. And I became a shell of the person
mm.
who I thought I was.
Well, I feel sad when you say that, but I recognize that for so many people listening in, that's actually what happened to them as well. I think it's very relatable in this field. I think there's a lot of burnout, and
hmm
when we think about, advocacy, community work, policy, sometimes it does feel very heavy, like you said. It is not easy. However, there's this whole part I think about, and correct me, if you don't see this too, but I see it that a lot of people came into this field and they had this natural sort of advocacy that was inside them. They want families to be informed. They want families to
Yeah,
have choice, and they want families to know what that is. But alongside that, they see that things have to change.
absolutely.
But not everybody continues on that path. Some people, just end up, doing the basics, the in and out, working with clients. You really did and have and continue to take things to a whole new level. And I think that's what I admire about you so much, is that it is this sustainability. And like you said, not perfect, because you know better than everyone here that, nobody can make things perfect, but
Right.
this is but the drive, I guess, to get back at it, and you see a need, you see something, you say something, you do something. So I love
Yes.
that about you. So
Yeah.
in all of that, when you're thinking about things through, you've learned a lot from probably the mistakes that you've made. Now you're in this place where you go, well, I have to take care of myself. If otherwise I can't take care of others. But
Hmm.
really, tell me, what's a quick tip or something that you just do on the daily, or when you're working with families now, to really take care of yourself? What have you kind of put in place now that you've learned?
Yes. So one of those things is just how I start my day. Every morning, I start my day with a little meditation and prayer.
Mm,
I hold my head. There's this concept of ori, and ori means head, but ori also means destiny. And so it's part of my spiritual practice, but it's just also
sure.
part of my personal grounding practice that um, that I greet the spirit within me every day. And
Mm,
then before I check messages, before I talk to another person, I need to get outside. I need to go commune with nature. I need to
mm,
move my body. And so these are the things that it sets the tone for my whole day. So if
sure.
I start my day in meditation and prayer, if I
Mm,
start my day with a walk, or if I go to the gym, and exercise, then not only am I strengthening my body, but I'm strengthening my spirit, because now I'm physically, spiritually, and emotionally stronger to take on whatever it is that the day is going to bring.
mm. I love that. I love that so much. And I think that, I think it obviously it's going to look different for everybody, but that, the grounding that we talk about. And I think most of us today, are talking about either mindfulness or meditation and how valuable it is, how it changes the brain. It's not just something that we once thought was nice to do. We actually know that scientifically it's supportive, reduces stress, and
Hmm.
then daylight. Nobody can argue with that now, can they?
Nope.
And it's funny because you're not the first person I've spoken to this week that tells me, that they get out into, sunlight before they sort of start their day. And,
Hmm.
I haven't been able to include that into my practice. The furthest I get is usually the deck on my house, but I,
That
I feel it
works.
counts, right? It
It
counts.
counts. That
It's those.
counts.
Okay, good. That's good.
Yes,
Yeah, I
that
don't quite.
counts.
I don't have time to do the gym in the morning, but I'm sort of more of a later day. But whatever, I think you can just design it, whatever works
It
best for
can,
you,
and
right?
it's going to look different for different people. For some
Mm,
people, maybe their quiet time and grounding time is at night, at the end of
right.
the day, where
Yeah.
you kind of settle in. I'm a morning person. I'm an early riser. It doesn't matter what time
Right.
I go to bed, I'm waking
Yeah.
up with the sun.
Yeah.
So, and that's my quiet time, because everybody else in my household likes to sleep in a little bit longer.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's about taking those quiet moments, evaluating, like, and reflecting on, what happened in the previous day. What do you have on your agenda for the day?
Mm-hmm.
And, just setting that tone, because if your life is anything like mine, like, even being away from home on vacation, like, I'm constantly getting messages. Someone needs
Sure.
help. Someone needs consultation. Someone has a question. You know, one of my kids is tapping my shoulder. And
Mm-hmm.
so I have to have these times where I'm not taking on any input. I'm not listening to anybody else's thoughts. Only thing that I'm listening to is my own thoughts, maybe the sound of the birds chirping outside, which brings me a
Yeah.
sense of peace and calmness.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just allowed to let my body recalibrate
Mm. Beautiful.
before I do anything.
Yeah, before you do anything. All right. Well, now that we've talked about a little bit about ourselves, I want to talk just briefly about how this sort of interchanges with our skill, our lactation work,
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to be talking, or you're going to be talking about environmental sustainability,
Mm-hmm.
and how this sort of ties in. And of course, this all goes back to sort of the theme that we have this year for World Breastfeeding Week. So tell me a little bit about, how this now, after we've sort of, centered ourselves, grounded ourselves, how now does this work into, environmental sustainability in lactation?
Absolutely. So when we think about lactation and we think about breast body feeding, chest feeding, um, the inherent nature of this is that we get to do something to nourish a child with our own bodies, right? And so just the act of feeding a baby with your own body allows you to reduce the amount of you know uh tools, bodies, all these other things that require energy to either produce
Mm-hmm.
it, to make
Sure.
it, to when we think about the production of of formula and what it takes and how it gets to us. And so we're already protecting the environment by doing this act because we're reducing the amount of things that we need to use. And then when I
Mm-hmm.
think about community, being able to do this work within my community, imagine that every community within a, let's say, 5 mile radius had access to lactation support. Imagine if
Mm.
the person next to you, this is what it used to be. You didn't go outside of your community to get help. You got help from your auntie, your sister, your cousin, the person next door, maybe somebody down the ways a little bit, but they could walk to you. So being able to do work in my community, I've seen clients that I could walk to their house. I don't mind seeing someone on a Sunday because I'm like, oh, you're just a few blocks away from me. Now,
Mm-hmm.
it's not always like that, but that is the idea. And so because I can't clone myself, I can't be everywhere. And, people are like, we want to see you. Okay, well, I may not be able to give you me, but I've created a program to be able to teach and train other people from my community, to be able to mentor, women from the community, um, who can also be of a resource to the people who live next door, behind, in front of, down the street from. And that in and of itself is sustainability because it
Mm-hmm.
ensures that one, this profession is going to continue.
Right.
Two, it reduces our carbon footprint because that's less travel you have to do to get the support. And three, we're helping more people feed babies with their own bodies.
Mm. So true. Yeah, so true. That just takes us back back around to, why we do what we do. But I do, as we start to look at, the sustainability, the environmental factors, these are things that a lot of people do care about. Young families are investing in these things and they need to know what their carbon footprint will and can look like for the future.
Mm-hmm.
It's incredible to think that, when I started in the field, maybe similar to you, Jennifer, but we weren't talking about those things. And here we are. It's amazing that we can get to this point. Well,
Hmm.
you're a mom of five, a mentor to so many. I know that you have a program which is incredible, and a movement builder which is just amazing. You've shared so much with us today. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I am so looking forward to this presentation. Truly, hearing you share today is very inspiring, and I'm excited. It sort of gets me on fire and ready to,
Yes.
do the next, right thing, and that is to continue to care for the families in our community. So thank you so much for joining me here today.
Thank you for having me. You're so
Yeah.
welcome. And I'm excited. I can't wait.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah. And so for all of you, listening in today, we're very excited to have, of course, Tanifer join us for our live webinar. Now, you're going to be here live on August 5th. So for most people
Yes.
around the world, you'll be here August 5th and live. So if you want to come and have a fabulous conversation, some time with Tanifer, then please join us at goldlearning.com for August 5th. You can register today, so make sure you go over to the website right now, register for this event. It's free and open access.
It's free.
That's right. And if you can't make it on the day, well, of course, you'll be able to listen to the recording as well. So you can share this widely, make sure it gets into all the hands that need to have it. And we'll look forward to seeing you online. Thank you so much once again, Jennifer, for joining me here today, and have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye bye for now,
All right.
everyone.